Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having a good week. I have had a crazy, busy, hectic, don't even have words for it week. But I put together a video of the meals that we had this week, just in case you're having a week like I've just had and you have no inspiration for what to cook. So I hope you enjoy. I've got a bean and rice quesadilla and a cheesy broccoli soup and a cornbread recipe. And all of these were highly approved by my kids, so hopefully your family enjoys them too. Anyways, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm doing is the quesadilla, and I'm just chopping an onion because this was not a week where I had vegetables prepped in my fridge, and man did I wish it was. So I'm just dicing up an onion really small because nobody in my family will admit to liking onions, so unless I cut them really small, they don't eat them. But when I cut them really small, they love them, so go figure. That's kids for you, right? They get an idea in their head that they don't like something, and then that is it. It's done. Sorry for the camera work here, guys. I was working one-handed, but I'm just sauteing those onions until they're nice and translucent. And while those are sauteing, I'm going to chop up some tomatoes just because I had them on hand and I wanted to use them before they went soft. And I knew that if I sauteed them, they would kind of like break down and almost form like a sauce for my onions. And I kind of wanted it to be a little saucier. And my kids also say they don't like tomatoes, but if I cook them, they do. So, you know, working with what we got here. Now I'm just adding those to the pan. Again, crazy camera work because I got one hand. I need to get a tripod. But just cooking those down, adding a little bit of garlic, salt and pepper, and some chili powder. Not the hot, spicy, like hot chili powder, just like what you stick in chili. And a little bit of cumin. And just gonna cook that down until it's kind of caramelized and almost like a paste, but not quite. It was really delicious, guys. While that's cooking, I'm just going to quickly chop up some cilantro leaves. Again, something my children will tell you they don't like, but I hide it in their food and they love it. So, you know, yeah. Next, I'm just mixing some rice and some refried beans. I made the refried beans in my Instant Pot, and I'm just going to put some tortillas and spread that mixture on top of my tortillas. It's just the small, like 6-inch tortillas. You could do bigger, but this one was definitely sufficient. These were really filling. Now the tomato mixture and the cilantro, and top that with copious amounts of cheese. Use whatever cheese you want and however much you want. I just had sharp cheddar on hand, so that's what I used. And then I topped it with another tortilla, stuck it in the oven with a sheet pan on top so that both sides would get crispy at 450, and chop them into quarters, top them with whatever toppings you want, and these were a huge hit. Oh, I forgot about this one in my intro. I did yam fries and ham steaks. I knew that that didn't sound like enough meals. So right now I'm just cutting up yams into essentially French fries. I'd wash them and, you know, just chop the ends off and then chop them into French fries. Now I'm just topping with a little bit of cornstarch and a little bit of oil and tossing it around and seasoning it with some chili powder, salt, pepper, cumin, whatever you want to put on it, whatever you like. That's just what I chose to do, but I'm sure it'd be great with just salt too. Then I'm going to bake these in the oven at 425 for 15 minutes, and at the 15-minute mark, I'm going to flip them. Now I'm just cutting up my ham. This was left over from another meal on the weekend. This was the ham that I wished I had at Thanksgiving. And I'm just putting that onto a pan to stick in the oven when I'm flipping my fries. Fries were done, and I just stuck the ham steaks in for a little bit longer. And now I'm just cutting those ham steaks in half just to make them a little bit more manageable, and I served that with a side of fruit. You could serve it with anything, but that's what I chose to do that night. Next, we are doing the cheesy cauliflower soup. So again, dicing up some onions, because onions are my favorite to put in just about everything. Who doesn't love onions? And chopping up a cauliflower. I didn't really, take a lot of time to chop this really well. It was just a rough chop. I probably could have cut it smaller and it would have cooked quicker, but it wasn't really an issue. So you do you, whatever works for you. Now I'm just peeling up some potatoes. I think I did about 3 potatoes to that 1 head of cauliflower. I just wanted it to have that kind of starchy creaminess that potatoes can give a dish. I wasn't really following a recipe. I am notorious for not following recipes. They're kind of like guidelines, right? Now I'm just putting some butter in my saucepan and adding in the onions to let them caramelize a bit, get nice and soft. Salt, pepper, garlic. It's like my go-to seasonings for everything. Even if I add other seasonings, those are always my base. Adding in some water. I think I did about 4 cups, but you could also just use chicken stock, but I used the chicken bouillon that I had in the fridge. So, whatever works for you. And tossed in the potatoes and the cauliflower. And then just let that cook down until it's soft. And in the meantime, I'm gonna make a roux and make a cheese sauce. So I added equal parts butter and flour. In that case, I added about 2 tablespoons, maybe 3 tablespoons of each, and about 3 cups of water. 3 cups of milk, butter, salt, pepper, garlic. And then I threw in probably about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of shredded cheese. Now I was running low on cheese, so I just used what I had. So in this case, it was a mix of mozzarella cheese, sharp cheddar, and Parmesan. And honestly, it turned out great. So I think that you could do this with whatever cheese you want to do. If you want to use Havarti or pepper jack or whatever. Now I'm just popping some artisan white bread into the toaster. I gotta flip it halfways to get it to toast evenly. And I'm using my immersion blender to blend it into a nice creamy soup. And then I'm going to add my cheese sauce to this. Taste it for seasoning, but honestly, it was great with the saltiness of the Parmesan. It was perfect. And then I'm just going to butter that toast. I had some garlic butter, so I put that on the toast, so it was like garlic toast. It was great, and the toast was super crunchy because it was like a, different kind of white bread. And it worked great, almost like a crouton. So I really enjoyed that with the soup, and the kids approved as well. And finally, we had some leftover soup, so I'm just making a cornbread. So that was 1 cup of flour, 2 cups of cornmeal, 1 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Then I whisked that all together and added 1/2 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of oil, 3/4 cup of milk, and I believe 3 eggs. Yep, 3. Whisk that all together and then mix the dry and the wet ingredients together. Give it a good whisk. And then grease my pan. I think this was an 8 by 12. Could have been a 9 by 12. you know, it's a pan, you can see it. And then I popped that in the oven at 425, basically until it was golden brown. I didn't set a timer, I just kind of kept an eye on it, but it was about a half an hour or so. And again, we had that with our leftover soup. So that was everything. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.